and then next class you'll have to put it all together, okay? So what I'm going to show is how we take our stuff that we rendered out of Maya and actually make a movie out of it. So in your computer, in your P drive, in your folder, there, okay? So I went to my Miniroom folder, and I'm going to my images folder. Here's all my files. So this is all the stuff that rendered out from Maya, okay? Remember that it doesn't render out a single movie, it renders out individual frames. So what we're looking at is frame number 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 120, okay? Now if I look at my frame 120, I always look at the size. See, the size of my frame 120 is 1 kilobyte. All my other ones are 1,902 kilobytes. The number doesn't matter. All that matters is the fact that they're different. This one is obviously different than those. What that tells me, my last frame didn't render out. So what I would do, I would delete it. I would go back into Maya and I would say my start frame is 120, my end frame is 120, batch render, and it'll render out just frame 120. Or on some of yours, if it stopped at frame 50, you could say render frame 50 to 120, and then it would fill in the rest of those, okay? So for now, for the lecture, I'm just going to ignore the fact that I don't have frame 120. But I would want to go through and fix that. So I'm going to jump into After Effects. And in After Effects, we can take that sequence and we can make it into a movie, okay? Something that we could put into YouTube, put on our thumb drive, and play pretty much anywhere that has QuickTime or VLC. And what I want you to do is I want you to watch me do the After Effects part, and then I'll step back and go really slow through each step. Okay, so the first thing I do is bring my footage in. Drop it here. Right to the render queue. That. There we go. Done. Okay, we have to do no more than just what I did inside of After Effects. We bring it in, make it into a comp, render it out as a QuickTime. That's it, okay? So now let me walk you through that whole stage again. So we need to import the footage. This is where you import, where it says project. You can Control I, you can double click that area, you can go up to File, Import, File. And then you have to find your images folder. Yes. Now when you find your images folder, you'll see that if you remember 2 seconds ago, I clicked on just one of my images, okay? After Effects will recognize, hey, you clicked on this image, and this image has a number in it, okay? This is number 1. That number 1 also has a 2, 3, 4, all the way to 120. So it recognizes that this image is not just a single image, it's a sequence, okay? It's part of something bigger. So what people normally do is they do this, they grab everything in here, and they try to bring that in, and that will bring in all the images separately, not what we want to do. All we do is we click on the first image. Doesn't actually matter which one, we just click on a image and an image inside there. Make sure that it says sequence down here. See where it says sequence, and then we hit import. Okay, now if we look at the icon here, you see that this icon right up there is not just a single picture, it's actually like 3 images stacked, okay? And you can kind of see if you look really close, that looks like 3 images or 4 images stacked together. So that means it's a sequence. We can also look up here, and it says 1 to 119. That means that I've gone from frame 1 to 119. Now it should say 120, but because it didn't render the last one, it doesn't say it. So now I'm going to take this and just drag it onto my composition. Okay, I drag it into the comp, and now I have a composition with it. If I wanted to, I can hit the play button, which is the space bar, and I could watch my movie, make sure that my camera is actually animated, make sure that things are moving. Okay, and zoom in a smidge. Now in production, typically you wouldn't just drop it in After Effects and then render it out. Typically there's other stuff that we would do to enhance this. Very rarely we get something right out of Maya that is just like mint, perfect, never needs to be touched again. Sometimes we have to go into there and maybe adjust coloring. So you don't have to do this on yours, I'm just showing you on mine just so you can see it. So I may have to adjust my colors. Maybe I'm desaturating this a little bit because it was too saturated. Maybe I would go in and add a curves to this and then adjust my curves. Oops, not the reds, I want you. Okay, maybe I need to adjust, and this is going overboard. Maybe I'll tint it. So I'll make my black, let's say green, put a dark green, and then I'll take my white, and I'll make my white a light green. And then I'll knock this amount down. There we go. Okay, so maybe there's some adjustments that we would typically do inside of After Effects. For this, we don't need to do anything. Okay, this is just in and out, just for us to get used to Maya. All right, so once we have our footage down here, we go to File, Export, Add to Render Queue. Okay, File, Export, Add to Render Queue. This brings up our render queue, and this is very similar to the render settings inside of Maya. Okay, so basically you have something, you need to get it out. What do you want to do? How do you want to get this out? So under the word lossless, you see where it says blue lossless right here in the bottom left? You click the actual word lossless. And lossless is basically compression. So in Maya we said, I want to take my 3D stuff and make it a sequence, okay? So in here, we don't want to do that. We want to take our sequence and make it into a movie. So at the very top, we're going to choose Format, QuickTime. Okay, now if you're on your home computer, you may not have QuickTime loaded if you don't have QuickTime installed on your computer. So just be aware of that too. You need QuickTime installed in order to see the QuickTime plugin here. Under Format Options, click that. And we would make sure that it's set to H.264. Okay? So now QuickTime is a movie format, meaning that we could open it up in VLC or Windows Media Player or QuickTime or whatever. Okay? That's all that the QuickTime part says, that it's a movie. This part here says that it's going to be compressed using H.264. Now what that means is, think of like Photoshop. If you went into Photoshop and you drew something and you saved it as a PSD file, and then you opened it again, you did some work, you save it as a PSD file, open it, save it. Every time you save it, you're not losing anything, okay? Exactly what you opened up and you saved is exactly what you're getting. Now, let's say we opened up a JPEG and we saved a JPEG and we did some work, and then we opened it up, did some work, saved it, opened it up, did some work, saved it. Every time we save that JPEG, we're losing quality, okay? So the same thing would happen here. If we took this movie and we opened it and saved it and opened it and saved it and did all this work to it, every time it would lose quality. There's no way around the fact that we can't take this movie that is actually like this big, all those files, frames together, is actually this big, and we're trying to make it into a QuickTime movie that will play something like this, okay? So H.264 is just a good compressor, a good way to take this huge file, make it super tiny, and still keep the quality of it. Now, regardless of us picking H.264 or whatever, we would lose quality typically every time, all right? So we're only saving this once, so we're just going to leave it as H.264. I need to shrink my window so I could hit OK. There we go. So hit OK in your window. I can't see my OK button, so I just hit enter. We could resize, we could crop, audio, whatever. I'm going to hit OK on the bottom. All right, and then it says output 2. So over here, yours may say an actual name. It might say untitled, not yet specified, whatever. So just click the other blue output 2 and give it a name. So I'm going to call it, and you're going to call yours, whatever your last name is, _ Miniroom. I'm adding a Monday, Wednesday here just so I don't get confused as to which one I'm saving. Okay, so you're going to call yours last name underscore Miniroom. Okay? So then you would hit save. And then the important step is to hit render. I like to save mine to my movies folder. So we have our images folder that we pulled that out of. I drop mine into that same project, but I drop it into the movies folder. Okay? You can put it wherever you want as long as you know where it's at, and then when you turn it in, that I know where it's at. Okay? And then you'll hit the render button, and then it'll go through and render out, which is 10 times quicker than Maya's. Okay? All the hard work's done, all the Maya stuff. So now it's just taking it and making it a QuickTime. And now it's done. Okay? I don't need to save this project. I haven't done anything to it. If this was something bigger, more expansive, definitely I would save it, but I didn't. So I'm just going to close and don't save. Okay? Now to turn your stuff in on the Z drive, so if you go to your computer, on the Z drive, there's a 2510 folder. And in the 2510 folder, there's a Monday, Wednesday folder. And in the Monday, Wednesday folder is the Miniroom turn-in. So all you're going to do is drop in your movie. So I'm dropping in my QuickTime movie into that box. Okay? On the Z drive, 2510, Monday, Wednesday, Miniroom turn-in. Now you can't change any of the stuff inside here. So if you drop it in and you didn't name it, it's going to stay unnamed. You have to rename it on your computer and then drop it into that folder. Okay? And as you're looking at this, someone rendered theirs out yesterday in the Tuesday class, and it came up like 1 kilobyte, like not 1,000 kilobytes, like 1. And something happened, and he just closed After Effects, reopened it, redid all that stuff, and then it was fine. So sometimes you just get a weird glitch where it'll do this funky stuff. Okay? A. Smith, do not put a dot in your stuff. There we go. And I think you're the only Smith in the room, too. And hi now, don't put your thing there. H264.